Scuba Obsessed, the weekly podcast. We talk about all things scuba diving, from cool new gear, the places to dive, and scuba news. Scuba Obsessed episode 533 is recorded live May 12th, 2022. Welcome back to Scuba Obsessed. I'm Darren Gilson, coming to you from the southwest side of the great state of Michigan, where we're not sure if it's winter or summer. Joining me this week, we have Mac, the dive mentor. How you doing today, Mac?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad to be here tonight.
Glad to have you here. How's it been in your neck of the woods? Have you gotten above 70?
Well, I think we actually had about 89 today.
89.
And it was quite warm yesterday. Had to do the yard again. I like this. I realize, though, that I am not liking the hot as much as I used to when I was younger. I think my body likes cold a lot better than hot, especially mowing the lawn and the sun.
Oh yeah, I was noticing. I think I don't trust my car. The car today said 98 in the parking lot in the black asphalt, but I have been seeing it up. I think we may have broke 90 today at my office. It was reporting that it was 88 outside. That's Fahrenheit. I think Celsius. So you'd be pretty close to. That'd be a nice simmer going on with a little Celsius there.
The only weird thing about this is May, and I have not gotten wet yet.
That is
rain.
That is weird for you. For me, I had dove last year by this time. I haven't yet, but I am just this. Don't we say this every year? Like, oh, it's got to get better. It can't get worse, and it just seems like we have unique challenges every year.
Well, I was at Glenlord Beach yesterday, just looking down from the overlook, and it's like I could see the bottom 20 feet out. It's like, damn it! And I'm up here, and they should be down there.
You said you're seeing the bottom.
Lots of boaters, a lot of sailboats, huh?
You can see the bottom 20 feet out.
I could see the sandbar 20 feet. It was like a tropical fish tank.
That is unbelievable.
Because it's been flat now for like 3 days. It's like I so wanted to hit the piers.
So that just is telling me that, because we haven't had much wind. I mean, that's one thing. We open up all the windows in the house. I'm refusing to put air conditioning on yet. It's a little too early. But we did have the windows open the last couple nights, and there's really not been any breeze.
For the last 3 days, yeah. But before that, though, we had gusty weather the whole time.
Yeah.
She's been laying down flat the last couple of days.
Yeah, I think Tuesday it was a little gusty. What's it, Thursday?
I know, like I said, Kevin got out to recover some gear, so obviously it was flat for him.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Tuesday. It was Monday, because that's when I had the robotics meeting. It was Monday. So gusty Monday, and then it settled down. So
yeah, I'm surprised they haven't put the buoy out yet.
Oh, for Cook?
Yeah, the Cook buoy.
Yeah.
Last time I checked was last week, and it wasn't out yet, which surprised me.
Maybe like all other businesses, they're running out of people. They need a hand.
Everything's slowed down. I'm just glad I don't need formula milk for anything.
I saw something in the news today that some people are running out of formula.
Yeah, it's like 50% cut. It's going to be that way for about 2 months. So if your kid can't take regular milk, you're in trouble.
Did they say why? I mean, formula does not seem to be something you would expect.
Well, let's say it's a manufacturer from Michigan is one of them. And I really didn't get into it because I didn't need it. So
neither do I.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I just heard that somebody said it had been all shipped down to the borderlands.
Oh.
But I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah. Maybe it's something I'll have to take a peek at, because you start on formula and you maybe end on formula, so I'm probably not too many years away.
Well, it seemed like that way. You start on those diapers, and that's what the adult Depends are for now.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more diaper to cover me now than it would have 50 years ago. So
well, I'll just use the plastic sheets for the mattress cover.
Oh boy, I feel yeah. Yeah, it's a conversation. I don't. So let's
I'm just gonna say, I don't know where this conversation is going there, bud.
put that in the chapter headings, diaper talk. So let's go ahead and jump on into the news, where hopefully we're not talking about diapers. First article we have up. You get that one queued up so everybody can follow along. This is from the newsherald.com. It says, Southgate man forever grateful trained scuba diver found his lost class ring in Mexico. Well, there's a picture of him with that class ring. That's a nice ring. Says Jared Raymond of Arizona and Gary Franklin of Southgate had never met, but a couple weeks ago Raymond became Frank's main man. I've never been anybody's main man before, but I like that, Raymond says. Although they didn't know at the time, the two men actually crossed paths a few weeks ago while vacationing in Mexico. Franklin and his family went out snorkeling off the coast of Playa del Carmen August 25th. While out in the catamaran and freshwater, Franklin felt his treasured University of Michigan 2012 class ring slide off his finger. Before he could clench the fist to prevent it from falling, it slipped off and cascaded out of sight. The ring that served as a constant reminder of scholastic dedication and proof that hard work pays off has drifted out of reach. Now, I can't help but think, if that was an MSU ring, would that have stayed on a little better? Is that related? Is that...
Or you just might have deflated that BC and just to the bottom.
According to Franklin, the ring was a gift to himself in recognition of struggle juggling working, school, homework, and being a family man all at the same time. The ring was worth about $800, but the sentimental value is what made it invaluable to Franklin. There was no reason to think the ring would ever resurface. I was right there. I couldn't see it. The water's about 9 or 10 feet. I thought the second to take my life jacket off and try and get it, but I didn't, because I didn't want anyone to see it floating and think of the worst. I just walked off as lost. Yeah, because that would happen. You take the jacket and it floats, and when you bob back up, who knows who'd be there. In preparing for the trip,
9 or 10 feet. 9 or 10 feet. Don't you think you'd have tried?
Me, yes.
Especially, that was, how much did he say was the ring worth?
$800.
Yeah.
Because let's see, he got it in 2012. That's not that long. 10 years old. He said in preparing for the trip, he lost about 15 pounds. His fingers were a little slimmer now, so the ring didn't fit as snug as it always had. Little did Franklin know that Raymond was coming in on some catamaran shortly after the trip, and he's a trained scuba diver. That's a sharp-looking ring there.
Yeah.
According to Raymond, he saw something shimmering in the water at the same spot Franklin was in and dove down to retrieve it. I thought, holy crap, that's a high school class ring. It's definitely a beautiful ring. I knew it had some value, and I knew it was special. With Franklin's... Now, just think about, what are the odds? I don't know, is that photo of him on the boat?
Don't know.
Yeah, because they say where he was at. Because there are spots in Mexico where there's 1,000 people, a day going in the same spot. So they don't say. It didn't say if it was a resort. Maybe they hit the same spots. Maybe there's a buoy. But just to be at the same spot and then to notice it, I mean, the advantage is you don't have sand coming up on it, but...
Well, he said he saw the shimmer.
Yeah. With Franklin's name engraved inside and being from University of Michigan ring, Raymond thought it was a long shot to post it on social media. University of Michigan in a name, that shouldn't be tough. Because it had a year on it, doesn't it? Is that how they do it? Trying to see... It's got the year of the university, 1817. Isn't it what that says? Kind of a bad angle. But,
yeah.
Neither man is on social media, but both have friends who are. Raymond tried his ring on for size, took a picture of it, and had his friend assist him posting it on Facebook. Social media does what it does best and spread the word. The picture and paragraph explaining where the ring was found had more than 9,000 shares. Wow. Between Raymond and his friends assisting him, Somewhere along the way, it reached people who knew Franklin that he had lost his ring. Finally, in the evening of April 29th, one day after returning from Mexico, Facebook posts reached Franklin. I thought it was somebody who heard about what happened, was trying to connect me with a jeweler. I read the paragraph, saw it was a scuba diver who found the ring. My heart just dropped. It showed it to my wife, and she said, "You've got to be kidding me." I didn't think there was any way somebody would find it. The two men ended up connecting, and Franklin explained the importance and significance of the ring. And the guy said $3,000. No, I added that in. It didn't feel right keeping it.
I bet you did.
Fortunately, his name was on it. It's a great story. It made me feel good. I felt even better knowing how much it meant to him. Franklin said Raymond has prepared an envelope with the ring to return. He said he included $100 finder's fee. He said he has heard from family, friends, and parents in connection with his children, all asking about the ring. Franklin said some of the people who reached out to him, he hasn't seen or heard of in more than 10 years. Franklin made it clear he wasn't too wild about the publicity the ring had generated, but said his wife made him realize the importance and value of spreading positive stories about generous people like Raymond. Franklin said Raymond could have easily kept the ring and got a little money for it. The experience reminds Raymond the class ring his father, Sidney Raymond, of Prescott, Arizona, lost back in the 1960s while in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. His father lost a 14-karat gold class ring outside the winter snow and said he only wishes his story would have had this kind of ending. It's worth something. Maybe it's not too late. Franklin said he's taken his class ring once off to wash dishes since he received it in the mail Thursday. I'm forever grateful.
I put a leash on that sucker. That would get fatter fingers.
Well, yeah, just what they say, just wait a little bit and they'll work right up.
Once you get in the water, though, if you don't have a good fitting ring, you really might not want to be wearing a ring in the water.
Yep.
But then again, if that were true, I wouldn't be as lucky as I am on my metal detecting.
Now, how many class rings have you found?
Actually, none.
Or wedding engagements?
Oh, yeah, I've found some nice diamonds, yes. Well, you saw that one. It was a little over $9,000.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. There's a story on that one, too.
Yeah. Well, your problem is which stuff do you get to keep and which goes to the family?
Well, like that, I had a night deer, and I actually knew who the owner was going to be. The grandma was out there really looking for it, and it was just dumbass luck for me. It took me 15 seconds.
15
and it
seconds.
Wasn't where they thought it was.
Well, that's always the way. It was right here. I was standing right here. I was in line with that tree.
Do you want to know the story on that one?
Sure. We got time.
New stuff.
Yeah.
I'd been out there metal detecting on the beach, Silver Beach, and another guy comes. If you're late on 4th of July, that kind of stuff, at 5 o'clock, if you're not out there already, you're late. That's when all the old guys get out there and go looking for stuff people lost during the fireworks. Anyway, 2 weeks later, I'm out there metal detecting. The guy come up and, well, did you find the ring? And I says, what ring? And he told me about they found a posting in the paper. Somebody out here lost a ring, quite expensive. 2 weeks later, I hear about it. And there's guys out there like crazy all the time. Not a big deal. I came home, told the wife, she says, well, did you call about it? She said, it's in the paper. It seems like the mother-in-law of the daughter who lost it, daughter, oh my God, was distraught. The husband said, you're never going to find it. Stop looking. So 2 weeks later, I call up the grandma. She told me the story. I said, can you tell me exactly where she was sitting? Well, she was here, went down to the beach, never got into the water, walked down to the whatever. And I said, there's certain landmarks. She gave me the landmark, never went past this, and came back. And I figured, if that's true, that ring should have been found. So what I did is I went and looked at the weather reports. We had 2 storms in the last 2 weeks.
Ah.
So I added 200 feet to where she said she did not go past. Stepped into the water, got my metal detector. I always look for a pop top or something. Ding, ding, got it. And then I removed the pop top, so I don't find it again. Wasn't a pop top, it was a ring.
Oh.
What are the freaking chances?
Not very many. But
No.
I
So I called
do.
the grandma and said, "Can you give me can you show me a picture or something?" She sent me the bill of sale, pictures of the ring, pictures of their hands at the wedding, and it was that ring. And so I said, "Come on down. Here it is."
I bet they really
And I asked for a
appreciated it.
reward. Yep, and she did give me a reward, but that was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But can you believe it?
2
Not
weeks.
anywhere near it, and you put it down, and there it is.
Wow.
What are the freaking chances?
Well, there you go. So,
And
you proved what this guy did. You can get lucky.
you can.
But there's a little bit of skill there, knowing where to start, and so
There's some techniques too, because if you're metal detecting on that kind of beach, right where the sand goes out, it dips down just maybe 2 inches. That's where you look for the toe rings and stuff, because that's where they'll be. And I never go deeper than a guy's under his armpits, because when you're throwing that football, you can't be deeper than that.
mm-hmm.
So the rings and stuff are going to be between chest high and generally waist high for adult rings.
Hmm.
So don't need to get out there when it's deep.
You hit that sweet spot in there.
Yep. I was off the tangent, but it's interesting to find rings and then try to find the owner.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate it, and it gives you a nice goal, something to do.
Yep.
Next one we have up is Brownie Marine Group completes acquisition assets of Gold Coast Scuba LLC, Pompano Beach, Florida, May 3rd. The Brownie Marine Group, leading developer, manufacturer, distributor of tankless diving equipment and high pressure and industrial compressors and marine industry, announced that its new subsidiary, Live Blue Incorporated, has completed acquisition of assets of Gold Coast Scuba, a dive shop and scuba diving training center operating in Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida. Live Blue will initially focus on creating a pilot program for guided tours, rentals, coaching provided with the company's innovative line of product from Blue 3. Gold Coast Scuba's Lauderdale by the Sea facility is located, providing ideal setting for its initiative since it allows numerous water and wind-based activities being launched from the shore, including snorkeling, tankless diving, scuba diving. The long-term goal is for BWMG and Live Blues to develop Blue 3 guided tours to water sport activity centers around the world. I wonder if this is kind of like we're going to show everybody else how they should do it. Yeah, because they're probably been.
Sure, Brownie also is the one that does the air compressor type diving.
Yeah, the Hookah Rigs
Hookah Rigs, battery powered, gas powered.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got the modifications for you just hook the hookah hose to your tank, put the tank on a float, and you're gonna pull me along.
And I think that'd be fun, in some environments. Just you get a long enough hose, and you don't have that tank to mess about. Says, we believe one of our responsibilities of companies continually grow the next generation of families getting in the water together for recreation and exploration. We think the combination of Live Blue Experience Centers and our super friendly entry point, BLU 3, tankless diving systems encourage more people around the world to enjoy and ultimately be stewards of our marine ecosystem. And this is Robert Carmichael, chairman of the company. We continue to focus on mergers and acquisitions as part of our growth strategy. This is our second successful acquisition integration in the last 12 months. We continue to be on the lookout for potential businesses and partners we think can add value to. Yeah. So,
I was going to say the tankless diving, though, remember, we've had conversations on that as how safe do you really feel that is if you're not a scuba diver and you're using that tankless system going down or hookah. You're going down 10 feet, 15, 20, 30 feet. Is that a good idea?
Well, it's a little concerning without the training. When it's being sold as, hey, buy this, get in the water, you're fine. Yeah. There's just a little bit of training. Maybe not as much as we need for scuba diving, but just throwing on. But
I would think, and I'm hoping that if you're a novice and you're doing that, you're really not going to try to go past that 10-foot limit. Because, I mean, if you're that new to it, you're going to be a little gun shy, I would think. Otherwise, we'd be reading a lot of
well, and that's the thing is
that.
The accident reports that I read, I am not seeing accident reports.
But would that be on the scuba divers or not?
You know, I'm admittedly not looking for it, but yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that'd be something. Maybe I'll do a research on that. You know,
I've not seen any Dan reports on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, would Dan? I would think that'd be something Dan might want to track.
Well, if you had a lung exposure, you know, and somebody went to the hospital for that, and they had an issue, one would think Dan would hear about that somehow.
Yeah. And I don't see a lot on free divers. Now, every once in a while we'll see them, but a lot of times it's doing world record attempts. In fact, Netflix. Was it Netflix? I think it was Netflix has a series. It's either 1 or 2 episodes. I think maybe it's a 1-episode series. On a lady from Finland setting the world record for swimming underwater under the ice. 103 meters.
That ain't going to be me.
No.
That's a football field.
Yeah, 103 meters. And when she was first trying to do it, the record, it was 2019, and the record was like 50 some or 60, and she knew that she could hit 63. She's pretty sure, and she was training for it. And then the pandemic happened, and everything stopped. And then it wasn't until the next year she could go, and at that point, the record she would have needed to make like 63 or 70 meters. And there was like an unofficial record somebody had done of 104. And so, you know, of course, they're trying to create a little suspense for the show, but yeah, she was hardy. I mean, and her concern was blacking out.
Yeah.
But they had a night, then they had safety divers in the water, and it was well done, well organized, and, you know, kudos to her. But it's about a 50-minute show, worth watching. I believe it's Netflix. But
I would think you'd have safety divers if you're going to do that under the ice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. They must have had a line from one hole to the other.
They did.
Otherwise, that would be not a good thing.
Yeah, there was a line that went all the way. And have you ever watched like tightrope walkers, where they've got like support lines to keep the line centered? They had the same thing, you know, like every 4 or 5 meters, there was the line down to the line to kind of keep it centered. So she was going underneath, and then behind her was another free diver who was going along with her, and there were 3 along the course, and then there was 2 scuba divers with rebreathers that were in the water.
What did she wear?
Swimsuit.
In the ice.
In the ice. It was a swimsuit. It was.
I have
posted
my so-sos on
it was a one piece, no bikini. But you know, it was probably like the material may have been like a skin suit. And I don't know what the rules were for Guinness and exactly what class she was going for, but it was not a wetsuit, you know, like a head to toe wetsuit. Yep.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, and what she did is
I've done a polar.
Yeah. Yep. So
I've done a polar bear once, and it's like, ain't gonna do that.
She what I thought was interesting is she like did a relaxing, calming exercise, and they had planned it, and it's half Finnish, which I got family members who speak Finnish, but not me. So it was half Finnish, half English, but it wasn't real clear. Like they had come up with a plan, and it was like timed. So she was like sitting on a mat, relaxing at about the 2.5 minutes before it was going to start. And they counted her down, and she just got in the water and went. And I was trying to figure out, was that just something they planned to do? where she was going to start at this time? Or was that some rule behind the world record? But yeah, she was bundled up, laying on like a rubber or foam mat, and she was relaxing. And she had said in 2019 that she had to get in a zone, and she really enjoyed the cold. And she said when she did it the next year, she says, I don't like the cold at all. She just never, that year, she just couldn't get into it. And she said she didn't train as much as she had the previous year. But, the pandemic happened that stopped it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, she did amazing, but she was, there, because they've got all the holes along the route, and she's moving at a pretty good clip. And that last hole, between the last hole, she really slowed down. So, but she came up, and then she had to give an okay sign, which she did, and she stayed in the water for a little bit. I'm like, get out. Of course, I think you get to a certain level of cold, and you probably don't realize how cold you are. But
I don't know. On mine, it wasn't too bad in the water, but I got out, and what I did not do, dumbass that I was, that was years ago, I walked barefooted back over the ice to my car.
Oh.
I should have had at least flip-flops because my feet hurt. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That was bad pain.
Yeah. Yeah, because your body's pulling all that blood back to your core saying, hey, feet, you're not getting any.
You do some, it's one of those items you look back for some of the stupid things you did and you didn't die. And it's like, okay, maybe I preach the safety stuff because I've done a few stupid things in my life and lived. And it's like, I was lucky sometime. You don't want to go, feasting your dives on luck.
Yeah. So what do antlers, hang gliders, and scuba tanks all have in common? And I don't know because I haven't read the article, but many people are geared up on vacation. Some for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. Travel industry, particularly the airline sector, is starting to see more travelers again. If you're planning on flying soon, it might be good to refresh yourself on the cost for certain items on your flight. You might think it's a matter of size, and to some degree it is, but airlines have outlined some specific items that will incur added fees. If you're planning to dive with antlers, hang gliders, scuba tanks, or other items that typically don't fit in a suitcase, here's the guide to consider what details will cost you more to bring on a flight. Oops. What do they do? How do I... Oh, you got to do the slideshow?
People bring antlers?
Well, if you went and did if you went and did a hunt, and maybe you wanted to have a trophy coming back, you might have antlers, I guess. So here they're talking about the first, and we'll go through this pretty quick.
Antlers?
Yeah. Instruments. American Airlines has instruments listed as standard checked baggage rule with added costs if they're too big or too heavy. United has a $25 gate handling fee for anyone traveling with basic economy ticket. Yeah. And they show cello player.
I was going to say that or a harp.
Yeah. Yeah, harp. Yeah, antlers. Apparently, antlers are common enough to be checked that some airlines have specific rules for them beyond packing rules, requiring the antlers to be fully wrapped with pointed tips covered up. It's a flat fee of $150 associated with them of both United and American Airlines. Frontier's a little cheaper, with only $100 per rack of antlers. That's still a steep price when you're trying to manage your money.
When you said antlers, I kept thinking of a deer. Never thought of an elk or something like that.
Well, and it's a flat fee. Because I mean, I'm thinking like you could have like a little spike that you could fit in your suitcase, or you could have like these that they're showing here, an elk. I mean, and you could go nuts. I mean, you could have some that are, I've seen some that are just gigantic.
Yeah.
Bicycles, $75 each way for bicycles, must be 1,500 pounds in the case. And in a case, wow, that's got to put a bike in a case. Scuba gear. Heading to the ocean for a summer getaway. Plan to scuba dive. If you're prepared enough to have your own scuba gear, there might be a cost. An oxygen tank, which of course that's what we all use. We don't want stupid air in there. It's got to be pure oxygen. American Airlines charges an added $150 where gear without tanks does not have an extra fee. Well, but you probably still have the baggage fee. They're not going to just let you go, oh, sure, take that along. They're just not going to charge you extra. The airline will count the tank and equipment bag as one additional checked item. United also has $150 for charge for a tank, while dive bags weighing more than 50 pounds will incur more fees. Does it make sense? I mean, this to me is obvious that they're just saying, we don't want it. $150. And think if somebody's got a...
You can just buy a tank when you got there.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Buy a tank, sell it back.
Yeah.
Or if it's a place you go often, just find bribe somebody to store it.
Yeah.
So $150, that's a lot for a tank. And I'm assuming that's one way. 150? Yeah, well,
yeah, probably.
One way, and you got to bring it back.
What? I can't imagine ever taking my tanks with me. Would you?
Well, I mean, a rebreather diver, you might want to take your tanks.
Yeah, but those are baby stuff, That's
well,
not.
I doubt they're going to care. I mean, they're going to go. Oh, that's a pressurized cylinder. It's a dangerous thing. Yeah.
I'll take the valve off and burp it out.
There you go. It's a they call it a cocktail shaker.
Yeah.
Well, dive bags weighing more than 50 pounds will incur more fees. I mean, you're going to charge more fees for luggage over. So you just get a bag, get an extra suitcase, put everything in other than the dive tanks, and yeah. And that was something that I was reading. Yeah, we've been doing the podcast long enough. There were people talking about, they were upset that I guess the PGA pays money so that golf bags are just a checked bag. There's no extra fees for them. At least there didn't used to be. Let's see, maybe that's one coming up here in the article. Windsurfing gear, I would think that would be it's like it's
gonna be a little awkward.
Maybe a speedboat. Maybe they might charge for that. Hang glider, of course. Yeah, I'm not surprised there. Javelin.
Duh.
Can I do this as my carry-on?
What's the cost per javelin? Because that's not that heavy. It's awkward.
Well, a javelin, I imagine, is fairly specialized. Must be safely stored in a bag, not in one's hands.
One would think so.
Sometimes you feel like you need it to open the bag of peanuts. Dry ice. Find yourself needing to travel with dry ice to keep frozen items. Most airlines, including United, Southwest, allow dry ice both as checked and carry-on bags, as long as it's stored safely, doesn't exceed 5.5 pounds. You can take your dry ice with you for $150. What? They allow it, but they charge you $150.
I'm trying to think of what circumstance would you be carrying something that required dry ice?
It's food.
Unless it's medical.
Well, yeah, like an organ. You got an extra heart in the bag. Or you just collect hearts, they could be.
Yeah. If he's wearing a clown suit, watch out.
Media gear. You remember the media for film production company or TV news network? Have the right credentials, documentation on hand. You can check each overweight, oversized bag for a flat fee. Depends on the airline. Yeah. Live animals. Pets incur extra charge.
Cheaper?
What's that? Dead ones cheaper?
Dead ones are cheaper?
Maybe.
Less housekeeping? Not going to be noisy? Depending on how dead they are, could be smelly, though.
Yeah, oversized is 51 to 99 pounds is $150 for bags for oversized. In a way, I'm not really surprised. I mean, airlines, they're trying to make money for everything. So, yeah. Probably not. Yeah, dive gear. I would take. Okay, Mac, for airline travel, of your dive kit, what would you take and what would you just rent when you got down there?
I'd bring my own regulators.
Okay.
Depending on the type of dive, too.
Yeah. Let's just say it's a Florida.
Regulators.
Cattle
and
boat
maybe
dive.
BC.
Yeah, you got to do 40 to 60 feet. You know, you're going to hit a wreck or something. So, yeah, maybe a BC, regulators, and then just whatever.
Well, if you had a mask, because if that's got prescription lens.
Yeah, mask, I might take that too. Fins? How about fins? Would that be something you just rent down there?
Fins is not a big deal for me. And they have those travel BCs if you're that way, but
Yeah, if you're going to travel a lot, you could really get everything condensed down. I think you could get it down to a checked bag, and then it just follows your checked bag rules.
mm-hmm.
So.
I think Bob used to have a travel rig also that he carried.
Yeah, and I think he used to, for his rebreather, like when he goes to Hawaii, I think he used to ship it down there. So
he did something special.
Yeah,
so he had his own gear.
Yeah, because I remember he would, because he rebuilt and did his own maintenance. So I think he had everything broken down and packed. And then he had a dive shop that would let him ship it to him, and he'd ship it there. And I think he would rent his tanks from there. And then there was something else. He tried to make it nice for the dive shop as a perk for doing it. But and he timed it. There was something with timing. I'll have to ask him next time we see him.
He's also very meticulous, so I like the way he operates.
Yeah.
From the aspect of his dive equipment. I mean, he's that way with his robotics and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's
got that mindset. That's good.
Yeah, and I saw if anybody follows Bob on YouTube, he just had a video out there. He doubled the solar panels on his RV, and excellent job on that. Yeah.
Excellent article too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't read an article. I just saw the video. And you mentioned stuff they didn't say on their robotics. There were some robotics teams going to the World Championships in Houston. They're coming from the Netherlands, and they designed the robot so it can be broken into parts and put as carry-on baggage. So this is a robot that can be 3 feet by 3 feet by 6 feet and weigh 135 pounds without the battery on it, with bumpers. And they make it so that it all can be done as carry-on because it takes too long to do it any other way and too expensive.
Seemed like you'd rent batteries when you got through, because batteries are a pain in the butt to.
Yeah, what you can do
like that
is normally what they do is they work with teams who are in the United States, and they'll either loan them or they can have batteries shipped to that location from a domestic supplier. Batteries are about $35-40 a piece for lead acid batteries, 12 volt. But you can't take them on a plane. So let's take a look, get back to the news. Divers work hard to remove these ghost nets from World War II shipwrecks. Oh, I see that was a video, Mac?
It had some video to it. I'm not sure which one you've got there. I like the part about the ghost nets, but I got more involved because it was a submarine.
Okay, let me see if as we're talking about it. Okay. And you're not going to hear the video or the audio on the live stream. If we get it started here, it's about this article will be in the show notes, and it says divers remove the ghost nets. About a minute and a half. God, doing jump cuts like crazy. Hard to see what you're looking at. It's like, oh, slow down. Trying to see, is that a submarine? I'm guessing.
Yes.
You don't know because it's going too quick. HMS
definitely a submarine.
Brutus removes nets to protect local wildlife.
Yeah. Did you see the depth?
No. How deep was it?
Now that you said that, so I thought it was in the area of 300 feet.
Altogether, they cleaned up 1,100 pounds of lost fishing gear.
And then they talked about how they were going to process the fishing gear or the fabrics that it's made of and make other items.
Yeah. Well, it looked like what they did is they must have, when they got down, attached a bunch of lift bags to the nets, and then they started cutting it free. The nylon nets will be recycled. Let's see if we can get back to the part where they talked about the depth. 164 feet down. So that's and they're diving with tech gear. They had two main tanks on their backs and then 2 side mounts. For some of them. Boy, and if they haven't sped up the video, they're going pretty quick, which you gotta be careful going too quickly.
Yeah, I don't have the article here because I can't remember where I put it, but I sent you that, and then I looked up about the submarine.
Yeah.
There's it's an interesting little part there. Because they actually had 2 survivors from that submarine. And I sent the photo was of the rebreather, oxygen rebreather they used to escape. And of the 2 that did make it to the surface, only 1 was able to swim to shore. So I think I sent you a picture of the rebreather too.
Well, let me see if I've got that.
That's unusual. And they weren't sailors.
Let me see if I've got the article. You did have some it was article, some it wasn't. So let me see here. As I go and find it, it says the HMS Brutus N36 was a British Arthen class submarine built in 1929, lost in 1941. So about 20. Oh, gosh, I can't do math today. 12 years. Lost during the Second World War. This class is the first to be fitted with Mark 8 torpedoes. Submarine sailed from Malta for Alexandria on the 26th of November with instructions to patrol the water east of Greece during her passage. She apparently torpedoed a ship the 3rd of December, but 10 p.m. on the 6th struck an Italian mine off Cephalonona, 7 miles, 11 kilometers north of Zakrinos in the Ionic. Nyan? See? I'm slaughtering so many names. It's like a record. Of the 61 on board, the only survivor was a 31-year-old leading stoker, John Capes, one of the 2 non-crew members hitching to lift to Alexandria. He and 3 others escaped from the submarine using the twill trunk escape hatch in the engine room wearing the Davis submerged escape apparatus. However, only he survived the journey to the surface and the 5-mile swim to the island where it was hidden by islanders for 18 months before being smuggled in Turkey. He subsequently awarded a British Empire Medal. Wow, that is absolutely amazing.
Okay, then I sent you a picture of the lung itself and the stats on it.
You said the lung?
Yeah, it's a Davis submerged escape apparatus, referred to as a DSEA. It was an early type oxygen rebreather invented in 1910 by Sir Robert Davis, head of the Gorman, CB and Gorman and Company Limited. It was based on, I believe, a German system, but it was adopted by the Royal Navy after further development by Davis in 1927. But the key item is he wasn't a crew member. And that's what's really odd about that whole thing. He lived out of the 4 people. He must have been in good shape to swim that 8 miles, too.
Well, and then to have the, because you have to train. You seem like you'd really need to train for something like that. Somebody just ended up in the boat. Here, put this on, go to the surface. You wonder if there was maybe, because he was the only one of the people who went to the surface who survived. I wonder if there was something.
He's the one out of the 4 that made it to shore. They all made it to the surface.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting as heck. Somebody who was hitching a ride is the only one out of a sunken submarine that lived. That's, to me, amazing. And then to look at the lung and what it looked like, and something built in 1910, and we're still talking oxygen rebreathers today.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is, you realize it's 111 years ago?
Yeah. I was just watching a show on one of the networks, and it was the when Germany had taken over Norway, and some ships had gone to Sweden, and Sweden was officially neutral, but Germany demanded that the Norway ships be given to them because the Germans were at that point short of merchant vessels, and they tried to get out, and they had a survivor who was probably 3, and the ship sank, and then her and her family were prisoners in Germany for several years. But I was thinking at that, I'm like, even if she's 3, that puts her in her 80s.
Mm.
So, yep. And, as a kid, even though, obviously I wasn't alive during World War II, but World War II didn't seem that far away. Everybody in my family, my grandfather was, an adult at that time making landing craft. So there was a lot of my family members we'd talk to about the war and what it was. And just now to think that, that greatest generation's almost completely gone.
Oh, my uncle was at Pearl Harbor, right? He was attacked and spent his time in the Pacific. My dad got shot up in Battle of the Bulge in January of 45. And he got shot up in Korea. I'm an Army brat.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Not funny.
No, but
you're right. It's the older generation.
Yeah. And, now the young kids today, but like my kids, the Vietnam era was probably about the only.
Well, that's my age group.
Yeah.
And the Gulf War is still recent because you're talking 90.
Yeah.
First one.
Yeah. And
so you got a lot of youngers for that.
Yeah. That seems like so recent to me, but I have family members who are in that as well.
Wow.
Let's get back to get through the news. Divers patch a dozen holes in the USS Sullivan's Friday. Work to save the historic USS Sullivan's continued in Buffalo, Erie County Naval Military Park Friday. Coast Guard Captain Lexia Littlejohn said divers had finished work repairing the starboard side of the ship, patching 10 holes in total, have started work on the port side, which the side of the ship was listing towards. Crews have plugged 2 holes that side so far that must also have holes between 1 inch and 3 inches. Divers were able to get in the water on Wednesday. They have just planned to dive on Tuesday. The water was too choppy, so it was deemed unsafe. Since then, Littlejohn said 20,000 gallons of water have been pumped out of the Sullivans. The patchwork and pumping have been in effect. Littlejohn said she also shared all the steps that will be. I'd like to get personnel on the vessel. We need to develop a plan to be able to do that safely. That's what we're working on. We need to figure out what we need to have air monitoring in place. We need to look at oxygen levels, those sort of things. Buffalo Mayor Brian Brown said this has not been an easy process. The mission is going to take some time. So again, we have stated from the very beginning, it's not going to be completed quickly. It's going to take some time. We're asking the public to continue to be patient, and the public has been incredibly supportive. Destroyer's historic landmark was named for the 5 brothers from the Iowa who died together in the USS Juneau. In 1942, Sullivan saw battle in World War II, Korean War, before being decommissioned in 1965. Divers also recovered several historic artifacts from the ship. Now, I didn't know what's going on here. Was this just the vessel that it corroded through and sank?
It reminds me of the potential, your dad worked on the silver sides.
Yep.
And you've even done work on it.
Yeah, I did a little bit.
When that starts deteriorating, if you don't get on top of it in a hurry, like they did not here, you're going to have a hell of a lot of trouble.
Well, they had the Olympia in Philadelphia is another one where because it's expensive. If you leave it in the water, it's like any other vessel, and it's got to be maintained. And there's some vessels where you just kind of Is that really floating, or is it just sitting on the bottom strategically?
Yeah. So that made me think of, what is the status of the silver sides?
I just saw something, and somebody had just said that they go up every year, and they were just on it. You know, they were kind of promoting it in social media, which I thought, well, I haven't heard anybody talk about that in a while, because my dad hasn't gone up there, because he did the silver sides. He did quite a bit of restoration work and maintenance on that, and then he did the Milwaukee Clipper in Muskegon. He did some work on that.
And he's also did work at the
Heston Steam
Museum.
Yep, Steam Museum. Yep, he did that for a while. And now it's been mostly the he keeps getting closer to home. It's Fernwood. He does they have a garden train that they run through the garden. So that's been his retirement project, that now that he's officially retired.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, and then let's have, this is one of the last one. Historic Florida bar as only underwater burlesque show in the U.S.
I got that one for you. I knew you'd like it.
Yeah, you thought I needed that? I'm just looking the background. It says that the 26 meters, is that the depth? Oh, there's girls in the photo. I didn't notice.
Of course, burlesque.
The feeding.
There's a lot more good photos on other parts of that that you don't have, but it was a good article.
Yeah, the feeding frenzy begins and the mermaids swim in the view. Cocktails flow like the outgoing tide in the darkened wreck bar. Designed to look like a Spanish galleon resting on the ocean floor. Fish circle brightly. Aquariums in a perimeter. Platters of ceviche, calamari, and tradito are served, and more drinks. The DJ leads the rowdy crowd in a game of Name That Tune that turns into a sing-along of Summer Nights from Greece, women belting out their best Olivia Newton-John, men doing the well chorus has been stuck in everybody's heads for 40 years if they weren't born when the movie came out. The mermaids hit the pool for the only underwater burlesque show in the U.S., slowly stripped down to their pasties and G-strings. The bar is vibrating with so much life energy, good performers can hear it through the glass. They got a guy for the women there, too.
Wait a minute, does that look? No, that's a little skinnier than you.
Yeah, that's quite a bit skinnier.
I don't know. It sort of looks like somebody we know, though.
Yeah,
I'm not going to mention any names, but
yeah,
AA comes into mind.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe he's been moonlighting. Gotta earn some money for some new tanks. South Florida entertainment grows even more slick and generic, overflowing to New York imports and club strants with Instagram walls for the influencers and bottle service for crypto princes. Mermaid shows in the B Ocean Resort, Fort Lauderdale, are a glorious throwback, a divine spark of golden age Florida tourism. From the 50s and 60s, Fort Lauderdale, where the boys were, Maya Kai Restaurant, Polynesian show, showcased tiki culture, iconic ship-shaped Yankee Clipper Hotel, originally named for the B Ocean Resort, drew such luminaries as Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio. The classic Lauderdale dive bar, Elbow Room, still stands. It opens in 1938, remains moment to the joys of cheap beer. The rich history mostly slipped away, but the rec bar is determined to keep it alive. Places with immersive experience like this are falling away, laments Marina Anderson, a lead mermaid who choreographs the performance, can lip sync to Vogue underwater like she has hidden gills. You're not seeing them anymore. This is tragic. My whole statement of purpose is preserve these elements. Mermaid shows, which also include Saturday matinee, treasure hunt for kids, mermaid and mimosas, brunch on Sunday, the creation of Anderson, who goes by the mermaid name Muda Serena, which, let's face it, is a pretty great mermaid name. Mermaids have a long history. I have plenty of photos. Weeki Wachee Springs State Park, This is when they really started in 1947, continued to stay, but when Anderson first came to the rec bar in 2005, it was hanging by a fin. Hotel guests used to watch mermaids perform synchronized swimming from the pool deck outdoors, but those shows ended in 1965. And it goes on. It's quite a long article.
Yep. A lot of pictures. If you're interested in that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's great, but you kind of wonder, why have some of this stuff died? Is it the type of entertainment that people want? Is that going away?
I don't know.
Performers. I mean, you got to make a living. I mean, because yeah. Because from my understanding of some of them, like down there in Florida, is it was really college age girls, really. And it wasn't meant to be a career. It was just something you did in a few years and then you moved on. So yeah, I'm all for it. Bring mermaids back.
Well, we did up in South Haven.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, do we know if that's going to be coming back this year?
Well, they had it last year, but they had it at the park the Jim was working at, with the floats.
Yeah.
And I believe it's being held again, but I don't have the details on it at this time.
Yeah, we'll have to add it to the show and fill everybody in on it. Well, we've gone on for quite a bit. Approaching an hour. Let's see. Do we have... how about let's talk about diving? We had Kevin on a couple weeks ago. He talked about his diving. And I understand he's been getting in the water since then, trying to recover some more gear.
Which he's been successful at. He's still doing some more research in the water, so he for sure is getting wet. Jim Schultz was working there at that amusement park again, helping them get the floats in. And that's where they had the mermaid event last year. And they didn't have it back in South Haven. I'm sure it'll be up back there again. It was a big draw.
Yeah, I think so. And that has the facilities for it. I mean, not quite as public as out there in the pier, but you've got a lot of, they've got, the bathrooms and other activities for people to do. And
lots of activities, yeah. And Karen also was up there giving a hand. Because that's one of the money makers we have for the Great Lakes Search and Recovery.
Yep.
And to go to that for the work that is performed. And that's about the only item. I know there's a couple of other guys in the club, but they've been diving, and it's all been in the Bahamas and the warm water.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be another year. We're going to go right from winter to diving on the lake. There's almost going to be no river diving because now the traffic's going to be too high. And then probably visibility starting to go down in the river. We had some heavy.
The last couple of times I've checked, the river sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fast, ugly, and high.
Yeah. Hickory Creek Bayou was over the bank as recently as a week ago. So that was, that not pretty. Takes a while for that to settle down, but you were mentioning before the show that on Lake Michigan and there by the piers, we haven't really had much breeze for the last few days. So just from the shore, you can see out there pretty good.
It was very, very nice. It was very tempting. Even if you get cold in a wetsuit, when you get back up, if it's 85, that's cool. That's great.
Yeah. Even in my wetsuit, that would be good.
For you, yeah.
Well, and then it could double as a burlesque show.
Yeah, you could get arrested for indecent exposure. I'm not sure which.
Probably. Do you have a dive safety story for this week?
Not today.
Okay. That's fine.
But we do have jokes all today.
We do. So I've got these here. Let me get my glasses adjusted. So time it's taken to get these edited, but now that robotic season's over, we'll get these stitched back together. So appreciate your patience. Appreciate everybody who downloads and supports the show. So let's go ahead and get to it. Are you ready?
Yep.
A friend of mine has been offering me free scuba diving lessons for years now and has told me we can start next week. I'm not going to hold my breath. I was diving a wall at 10 feet and a guy without scuba gear comes up to me, so I hand it deeper to 20 feet and here this guy comes again. So not to be outdone by a free diver, I had to 60 feet. I didn't see him again till I got back in the beach and the group was around him. I went and asked him what kind of diving he was doing. He said, drowning. How to get an octopus to laugh and tickles. When a scuba diver the other day, I went, oh wait. Okay, here it is. I thought it was the same one. I went scuba diving the other day. I went deeper and deeper until I saw the most magnificent sight. Beautiful mermaid, probably the most gorgeous creature I'd ever laid eyes on. I thought of asking on her date, but I took a look at my pressure gauge and realized she was out of my league.
All those people have to think about for a minute, but
yeah. Why don't sharks eat clowns? Because they taste funny.
They taste funny.
Yeah. Never be afraid to try something new. Remember, amateurs built the Ark, professionals built the Titanic. And then what do you get when you combine a scuba diver with a janitor? Jacques Custodian. And then here's another shark joke. Why don't sharks attack women? Because they're man-eaters. I think this is the one to wrap it all up. 3 instructors from Patty, Naui, and SSI are with their students on the boat going to do a deep ocean dive. The boat starts to take on water and starts to sink. The Patty instructor tells the students to set a compass to a point on shore and prepare for a long dive. The Naui instructor tells the students to grab an additional tank for a long dive back to the shore. And the SSI instructor tells the students, if you give me an extra $100, we can knock out your rec cert.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
All it takes is money.
Yeah. Just $100. I'm looking at that. I'm thinking, well, you know, what would I do?
I was going to say, what are you going to do? You're going to get that extra cert because you still got to get the shore too.
Yeah,
but you're going to need more air. I think
it reminds me. I still want to do the. I still think that would be something. A draw would be to do the boat that you could sink with people on it. Did I ever tell you about that?
You're going to sink.
Well, I wanted to build a boat. Yeah, it would be something where you'd have a main vessel and then you'd have something, you know, kind of like how they do the some of the concrete barges where you got the boat as part of the barge. But then when you get out there, so imagine a pontoon that you can intentionally sink. So you have everybody like on a cattle boat and you get out there and you just sink it. So you sink it maybe at a known location. And then when you get down there, there's a line to the wreck and you do the wreck dive. And you know, there you go. I mean, where else can you say that you survived the shipwreck? I just thought there was something about that you engineer it so it's like a submarine, but you would sit on the deck and go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, on that note, go out there and get wet.
And think safe, dive safe, stay safe.
Yep. Yeah, just a second here. I'm trying to time ending the stream. Dun, 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 dun.